So why are we here? Let's answer that question.
This is the Cartoon Caption Contest podcast. So we jump on every week, Beth, Paul, and I, and we talk about the New Yorker Caption Contest.
Okay.
Photo, the finalists, we judge the finalists, lament that we were not the finalists. And then on occasion, we have cartoonists on, and we discuss their careers. And today we have the great Joe Dator.
I don't know where he is, but I'll be a sufficient substitute for him. You may have got one of the other Joe. You may have one of the other Joe Dators in mind. There are a few. But I am unique among them because I'm the only one who's not Filipino. That's true, by the way.
Is that really true?
My surname, which is a sort of shortened version of an Italian American name, just by coincidence, is an incredibly common surname in the Philippines. And I often get contacted by people who are Filipino American asking if I'm a relative, which sadly I'm not. I wish I could say, hey, we found a long lost cousin, but I'm not. And I often get mail addressed to me in Filipino language, ads for McDonald's that are not in English. I got McDonald's coupons in Filipino. I don't know why I got those. But yeah, so I feel kinship, at least. I feel like an honorary country person. What were we talking about?
We were telling you about what we're doing here.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, let's get on with it.
Okay.
Why are we talking about it? Let's just do it.
Well, we want to know about your career.
Oh.
Day one, cartooning.
All right.
I assume you started at a very young age.
Well, I started everything at a very young age. I mean, we all start at a young age, right?
I mean, at a certain point, you realize you can draw, right? And at a certain point, I realized I cannot draw. And it's kind of a skill that is very difficult to learn. I've tried.
Vince, the whole world has realized it. We've all realized it.
When did
you may have been the last to know. I don't know. I was one of those kids who I used to read Mad Magazine and I used to draw, and I liked to draw when I was a kid. I liked to draw to the exclusion of most other kid activities. I never played a sport or rode a bike or went out and I can't remember ever playing in a schoolyard or anything like that, or going to camp or any of those things that like kids did. I just had no interest. I just liked to, I liked comedy. I liked watching TV. I liked comedians. I would make my parents let me stay up to watch Johnny Carson and Saturday Night Live, and I liked Mad Magazine, and I could draw too. And then when you go to school is when you're a little kid, and when you go to school, and when you're someone who does not do normal kid things, what happens, you discover, is you immediately are beset by horrible things that happen to you. Like you get bullied and teased mercilessly. But then you add to that the fact that, oh, but I could draw, and that would suddenly impress all the other kids in school. So that became a thing that reinforced it. It was like, oh, I gotta keep drawing, because that seems to be my only source of approval.
You started drawing in self-defense then, for survival.
It started out as defense and later became attack. It later became offense. Yeah. Yeah,
when
I think
did you realize you could make it a profession?
I'm still waiting. I don't know. No, it's a long and twisty, windy road to getting where I am. So I think people would be very bored by this story. I don't know, but I was a person with weirdly, from being young and knowing that I wanted to be funny and that I could draw, I strangely still didn't approach it from a young age. So I went many years of my life wandering around doing other things and wondering what the hell I should be doing with my life, and failing at most of them. But by chance, I did meet Bob Mankoff when I was in my 20s. And that inadvertently or ultimately led to me doing this. But even that was a twisty, windy road because I worked for him for a while at a business he had, and he became a friend and a sort of mentor to me. And this is when I was like, this is a million years ago when I was only 40, or I was about 25 or something. And and I worked for him, and then I booked on out of New York for a while, but then I came back and I worked for him again. And he had this business called the Cartoon Bank, which he had begun, which he then sold to the New Yorker, and now has a new business to compete with that business, his own old business. It's a weird, long story. Anyway, some people probably already know it. So, and if you don't know it, go look it up. And I worked for him for a while, and he was always very encouraging. He was like, Joe, you can draw and you're funny enough. That was the biggest compliment he ever gave me. He said, well, you're funny enough. And that was one of the alternate titles of my book that I was thinking about. I was going to call it Funny Enough. Funny enough. So Bob told me I was, you can draw, you're funny enough, you should do this. But I still didn't for a long time. I think I was probably just scared or nervous or whatsoever. But anyway, the short version of the story is, after walking around on Earth for nearly 40 years as a thorough and utter confused failure, I finally decided, I should try submitting cartoons to the New Yorker, like Bob suggests, and I did, and it worked out.
Well, where did you meet Bob? I assume in the cartooning world, right? Not.
Well, no, it was through a girlfriend at the time. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and she went on an art retreat, and she met somebody who knew him, and they started talking, and she said, oh, my boyfriend draws cartoons, and well, I know this guy who's a New Yorker cartoonist, and we should get the two of them together. And that was it.
At that time, he wasn't the editor, he was just a cartoonist.
Yeah, he was just one of the cartoonists at that time. He became the cartoon editor in 1997, I believe.
But this was, you sold to?
Sorry?
You sold to Bob, or you sold to Lee Lorenz?
No, it was after Lee Lorenz. So yeah, I think I had my first cartoon accepted in 2005 or 6. Well, it was published in 2006, but I think it was sold at the end of 2005. And that was when Bob was the editor. Yeah.
And what was that first one? Do you remember it?
It was a man at a cocktail party, and he is on the couch, and and next to him is a small baby in like a sort of a baby seat. And the man says, so Carol tells me you're a baby. And that was it.
I'm pulling it up now. I'm going to share
gales of laughter. It's throwing off. Please, I just have to ask you, hold your laughter, because it throws off the pacing of the show completely. The audience can't hear what we're saying after because of all the laughter. So please restrain yourself.
Okay.
I actually know that one, and I have always loved it. I think it's great.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't know it was your first cartoon, though.
It was indeed, and you can see that I don't draw anything like that anymore.
Yeah, your style has certainly changed.
Yeah, I was experimenting with a lot of different sort of visuals there, and not really, sure where I wanted to go. I was trying a lot of things. Can you guys hear my air conditioner?
No.
Did we?
Well, then I must get one.
Oh gosh. So once you sold your first cartoon, did it really take off from there, or did you have a period where you weren't selling?
Not really. I pretty much has sold consistently over the next 15 years. Yeah, pretty much. There wasn't like a period where I had to wait a long time. I was very confused, though, about the whole process of publishing it. I did not understand that at all. And so when they purchased it, I sent them the finish almost immediately and expecting to see it in the magazine the next week, which is not how it works at all. And I think Zach Kanan was working there at the time, and he was Bob's assistant in the office. And I think that was Zach Kanan. Wow, Zach Kanan, that's amazing. I forgot all about that. Very funny guy.
Yeah, we're trying to get him on.
Oh, well, good luck to that. I wouldn't even know how to get in touch with him at this point. He's not on social media. He's a man of mystery. Even more so than myself. I wish I could be as mysterious as Zach. I strive for that. Eventually, I'd like to disappear completely. So, where was I? Yeah, and I called Zach and I was like, "Oh, what's going on with that cartoon? I didn't see it in this week." And he explained to me like, "Oh yeah, they can run it anytime at all." And eventually, they ran it 8 months after purchasing it. It turns out. This is August of 2006. Oh, this is August. Hey, wait a minute. This is August. Now it's August. This is the month of August. So that makes it 15 years as of this week.
Wow.
I have been doing this for.
Are you submitting anywhere else, or you always just purely submitted to the New Yorker?
No, I mean, with the New Yorker, it's like the top of the food chain. It's like, so I always, I really wasn't selling cartoons any place. I didn't work my way up to the New Yorker. I started at the New Yorker, and I always thought, well, that's how you should do it. You should go to the top of the pyramid and start there. Everyone's like, no, you need to start at the bottom, work your way up. Why? Who says? There's no law. Start at the top, work your way down. So I started at the top. Where's my hand? Oh, it's right here. Start at the top. Top is here. Up, down. And then I worked my way down. So eventually I did cartoons for Mad Magazine and other places like Narrative and Airmail. And, if I keep going, I could really reach the bottom. I could start publishing stuff in the Weekly Penny Saver or something like that, but the thing about the New Yorker is it's the place you want your cartoons to be more than anywhere else. And also, it pays better than anywhere else. There's no comparison in publishing at all to any place you could sell cartoons to that you get the prestige and the money that you would get from selling cartoons to New Yorkers. There's no reason to submit them anyplace else first. So I've always drawn cartoons for the New Yorker, and then once the New Yorker doesn't use, I will submit other places. And if you see a cartoon of mine, this is a big secret. So if you see a cartoon of mine not in the New Yorker, it's because the New Yorker said no. Always.
And you're giving them, 10 a week still, right?
Oh, gosh, no. I've never done 10 a week. I think once I did 10. I'm not that prolific. I'm not that prolific at all. I mean, really, I have nothing but awe for people who go in there with 10 a week. I've heard of people going in there with 15 or 20 a week, starting out. I was like, what the hell? How can you even do that? No, actually, I've gone in there with 8, usually 8 on a most average given week. And at least one of those will be a repeat from before, like a resubmit. But 10, God, no, that's a lot for me. 6, I've gone in there with 6. I've gone in there with 4. I once went in with 1.
I noticed you say go in. Do you tend to, now pre-COVID, did you tend to go there physically each week instead of mailing them in or emailing them in?
I pretty much stopped when it became normal to email them in. I pretty much stopped going in person. When I used to go in, when Bob Mankoff was the cartoon editor, I would go in there, and Bob had a ritual, and he would, you'd hand him your stack of ideas, and he would sit there looking through them in almost complete silence and take the ones he wants, and then hand you the others back and pretty much say thank you. At least that's how he did it with me. there was almost no, he would never give me any feedback or critique or conversation. I don't know. Maybe I was different. I've heard of people going in there for like 30 minutes and having him critique everything. He never did that to me. He never gave me any notes on anything. So I realized, well, I'm not getting any feedback. So, once it became feasible to fax things in, and then after the fax thing, it became PDFs, which is now pretty much how I do it. Then I hardly ever went in person. When I started, I used to go in person every week, and it was always a bit of a struggle because I was always working until the last minute. So I'd always be working all night. And I know I wasn't the only one, because I would go in there on a Tuesday at like 11 o'clock, and I would be standing around the office waiting to go in to see Bob Mankoff. And I would see the other people around me who were the same exact combination of tired and wired. That thing when you've been up all night and you're exhausted and you can't really see straight, and your synapses aren't firing properly, but you've loaded yourself up with so much caffeine that you can't stop talking. And I was not the only person in that condition on a Tuesday. I can say for sure, but it just got exhausting to always be in that position. I could never get my stuff together. I was never like good at managing my time, always horrible at it. So I could never get my stuff together in time to be like Tuesday morning, and I've had a good night's sleep, and I got a stack of fresh ideas that I'm confident in. And oh boy, here we go, world, look at me. What the hell? What kind of a person is that? That's not real life. Real life is you're miserable. You're just miserable all the time. And it just got exhausting. So as soon as I could send the PDF. And now, of course, you send a PDF and you send it by Tuesday at noon. And that's great because I'm here, I'm at home, I hit send, and then I can literally walk right over there and take a nap. I can just go and take a nap.
Yeah.
Did you go in when Emma took over, just to at least see her style of judging cartoons?
I have sat across the table from Emma. When did she take over? It was about 4 years ago. I have sat across the table from Emma a total, I think, of 3 times. I have met Emma in person more times at the Christmas party than I have on a Tuesday. But I did. There was a sort of a big last day thing for Bob, and that was Bob's last day, and everybody showed up. It was every single cartoonist currently living and some deceased showed up on that day to bid farewell to Bob on his final day. And it was kind of, we all sort of had the idea that this is Bob's going to give us all a little parting gift. He's going to buy something from all of us, right? Isn't he? And yeah, he bought one of mine that I've been submitting for years and years and thought was never going to get in. So that was nice. And then I went back the following week because that was Emma's first week. So, and then everybody and their brother was there too.
Well, I have to ask, what was the cartoon that Bob bought that day?
It was a bunch of people. It's hard to describe. A bunch of people go into, 2 people are walking into a restaurant, and there's a maitre d', and you see in the restaurant there are these lobsters on the walls, and lobsters on everyone's plate, and waiters carrying a tray of lobsters. But then the maitre d' says to the 2 people, "Oh, we're not a seafood restaurant. This building just has a terrible lobster infestation." And
that's funny.
There it is right there. And I will tell you, I'd been submitting that cartoon for years and years. And I think I even showed it to Bob, and he just like said, this isn't funny. This isn't good. But then it got in. And I still maintain that it's funny. I like ruining things for people. So anybody who likes lobster, I have made lobster grotesque and disgusting for them. And I've ruined their, and I love lobster, by the way, but even I acknowledge that it's basically just a large underwater bug that we all find delicious.
Lobster infestation is funny.
Thank you. What's everyone got on their feet? When you do these Zoom things, you wear something on your feet. You're not obligated to, and no one will know. But okay, right there, that's some sneakers right there.
I am barefoot.
Be honest. Okay.
I am barefoot as well.
See that? That's interesting. Yeah. No, I'm not. I have my Adidas on, my burgundy Adidas, because I don't feel right not having my feet clothed. I feel like that's the difference between leisure and business. And I work at home. I'm one of those people who works at home, so I have to do things psychologically to get myself into work mode. And one of those things is something goes on my feet. Once something comes off my feet, there's no getting any more work done. If I took the shoes off, that's it. I'm done. Done for the day.
Well,
I'm wearing shoes, but like every other podcast I've done here, I'm not wearing any pants.
Well, that's
Again.
I mean, that's standard, right? Yeah.
I'm wearing pants.
All right. I didn't even go there. He went there, not me.
You went with shoes, I had to go with pants.
Or I don't think you had to, but all right.
There are a lot of pantless cartoons, and in fact, there was one in cartoon collections. You just had a contest a few months ago with a bunch of people standing in a bar, and they all had business jackets on and cut off shorts. You remember that one?
Yeah, I do remember that one.
Mhm.
That had that was the culmination of my many attempts, my long futile campaign to get Daisy Dukes into a cartoon. But my goal was to call them that, and that didn't work out, and it ended up being a caption contest. So I think the caption on that, my caption on that one was something like the guy saying, "I'm sorry, sir, the dress code for men is a dinner jacket and Daisy Dukes," which I just thought was very silly. And I honestly, I will sometimes draw things because I just want to draw them.
Mhm.
And I just thought, wouldn't it be fun to draw a bunch of men wearing little tiny Daisy Duke shorts and formal attire? And it was indeed very much fun. And I had that fun. And no one else did. No one else did, just me. That was
Beth actually won that contest.
privilege I enjoyed. Did you?
Yes, my
Well,
caption
all right.
was picked as the winner in that one, and my caption was, "Well, if it isn't Mr. Fancy Pants," because the man at the door is wearing a whole suit.
I get it. No, I remember my drawing. I drew it. So I remember that.
Mhm.
I am biased because it does not use the words Daisy Dukes, and that was my vision for that drawing. That was when I birthed it. I said, you must bear the name. But the way I have tons of those like that I didn't that I didn't use. There was one where it was like a knight in shining armor, but he's wearing the shorts, and somebody said, "Oh, he's the Duke of Daisy," and I tried many times to get those across. I remember the one I really liked was a scientist in a lab coat, but his lab coat is open and you can see he's wearing those little short shorts, and his assistants are all wearing them too, and he's in a lab and he's looking through a microscope and he says something like, "My God, I've finally discovered it. I've discovered who wears short shorts. We do. We wear short shorts." It was something like that. I forget the caption, but it was, I was trying to get that to work, and that never worked.
You know what? That one's somewhat dated though, because that commercial was like when people my age were growing up. So if you presented that to Emma Allen, I could see why she might not understand that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an old Gen Xer. I'm a and I remember songs from the 70s. That was a song before it was a commercial, I think. It was like a hit song. Who wears short shorts? We wear short shorts. And then it became a commercial for either Nair or
Nair.
It was Nair, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the depilatory
What should I know
cream. Do they make that anymore?
I don't.
You're
think-
asking me?
I don't think they do.
I am specifically asking you, nobody else.
You saw my
I
legs.
just
That
got the
was why
sense that you
asked.
would be the person who'd know. Honestly, when you held up your shoe, I thought, well, his legs are very smooth. He must nair.
That's a great cartoon, though. I wish that one.
I
would
guess
get-
it wasn't great. I could never really get the line to work. I mean, the whole, the whole, and I tried it a number of ways. He's in the lab, or he's like addressing a conference of scientists or something like that. And it never worked out, but maybe it's something I save. I use every part of the buffalo. If something doesn't work, I save it and I put it elsewhere, and then I use it for something else. And the reason is that as I said before, I'm not real prolific. So I have to save every single good idea I have and use it again in something else. So that'll be something else. It'll be a sketch or a comedy sketch or something like that. Or I'll be writing something and suddenly that'll be the right joke for it,
Looking through your cartoons, I noticed more so than most New Yorker cartoonists, you have a lot of very long captioned cartoons.
Yeah, I guess I do. Those are really fun to do.
Yeah, they stand out because it's very unusual. Typically, one sentence is the max for a New Yorker cartoon, and some of yours are, paragraphs long.
Thank you. I will take that as a compliment.
It absolutely is a compliment.
I mean, that's hard to do because it's kind of a high wire act. You're basically, it's a piece of writing, really, is what it
Right.
is. So, and I'm kind of proud of those. I think if you can, brevity is the soul of wit. So if you can write a whole paragraph and sustain it and keep it funny until the end, you've pulled off a little trick there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And I am proud of those. I like that they took those because I thought, well, does this mean I can say that I'm a writer for the New Yorker as well as a cartoonist now? Because there's like a whole paragraph there that counts, right? I don't know, but it's
Short stories.
in a way, it's kind of, if you talk to some of the other cartoonists, it's kind of why we go back to the New Yorker. It's because of there's the, close to 100-year history of great writing, great cartoons, great criticism, great journalism, and it's a storied magazine. It's a part of culture, and to participate in it in some small way, even if it's just a little drawing in the corner in a box, it really feels good. It really feels like an accomplishment. And when and the fact that I've managed to pull off drawing a cartoon that has like an entire chunk of writing in it that I created, and that went into this publication that is legendary, was accepted there. It's I gotta say it's pretty it's very, very good for one's ego to know that. It helps one's self-esteem, and I think we're all kind of addicted to that. Like, we all want that approval from the New Yorker magazine. It wouldn't be the same, it wouldn't be the same if it was coming from, Tractors Monthly,
Right.
unless they paid really well. And they might, who knows?
I'm not sure why, but I always like to ask about signatures. And I noticed you changed yours from, looks like your old drawings was J Dator, and you changed it to Joe Dator. Is that a conscious thing? I assume it was.
I mean, is this a hit piece? What is happening here? Is this a gotcha thing?
I asked all
you
cartoonists. I'm not sure why I'm intrigued by it, but it seems some cartoonists intentionally are very clear about their signatures, and some just do almost lines. Like a Nick Stevens is just kind of lines.
Well, it's all lines.
Well, lines that form words.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know
why you made that change.
Yeah, I do. I do. It was a very conscious change. Do you really want to hear this story? I think it's very it's I don't know. I can't imagine anyone caring about this other than me. But I started out with J Dator because when I first started going into the New Yorker, I was, as I said, I was kind of coming off this period of being sort of directionless in life. And I wasn't really sure who I was. I've always had a little problem with that identity problem. Um, Jump in if this gets really boring because I'll cut to the chase. But when I first started going in there and I got my first one accepted, I had to think about, well, how am I going to sign this, and how do I want to be credited in the front of the magazine? And I was sort of thinking about Kleban, who was sort of my idol, B. Kleban, who never went by his name, which was Bernard, but he didn't like Bernard, so he just signed B. So I thought, well, I'll emulate my hero. And then as the years went on, a few things happened, which was, one is I just got a little bit more confident in myself. And I thought, well, why am I trying to hide? Why am I in the most high profile magazine and trying to hide? I'm trying to hide my first name. Why would I do that? And so I thought, it's only 2 more letters. Maybe I can sneak them in there. And one day I did. I thought, I'll just, I'm going to submit this finish. I don't remember, it was like 10 or 11 years ago when I first started that. I'm going to sign it. I'm going to slip the other 2 letters in there, the O and the E. And I thought, well, they're going to say something. I'm going to get in trouble. No, but I never did. Nobody noticed. They didn't say a word. And then I think I did call up, I forget who it was at the time, whether it was Zach Kanan or somebody else after that. But I said, in the table of contents, can you now write my full name out? Because and it was just a simple thing of like, well, I don't feel so much like I want to be invisible. I don't mind being me in public and using my real name and using my full name like that. So it was that. And then another thing happened later on around the same time, which was these things started going viral on the internet. The New Yorker started posting a lot more of the cartoons on social media, and they started going around and going viral. And then I realized, oh, I have to put my full name in there because they get shared around and they get shared without attribution. The way things go viral, people just say, oh, I found this cartoon in the New Yorker, and they never credit the artist, or they never even check to see who the artist is. They call it a New Yorker cartoon. Somehow the magazine gets credit for my work, as if the cartoons spontaneously generate. So I thought, yeah, it's really good to have my full name in there, because now they go around online and you can read my full name. And if you're so inclined, you can Google me and find who actually did the cartoon, which is, if I had a signature that was very obscure looking and deliberately overly artsy, it would have been harder than that.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great story. Very interesting. I have a question.
I can tell you're fascinated.
No, I am. I have a question about the character behind you, who appears regularly in
Behind me? What? Who's behind me?
He
It's
appears
Leonard.
regularly
It's
in
Leonard.
he appears regularly in your cartoons, and I'm curious if he's representative of somebody in your life, a relative or somebody, or just somebody's persona that you made up.
I mean, he's in my life. He's already in my life, Beth. That's Walter. Walter is a guy I started drawing a long time ago. And by the way, you can read more about Walter in my upcoming book, Inked,
Mhm.
Cartoons, Confessions. I can't remember the title of my own book. Cartoons, Inked, Cartoons, Confessions, Rejected Ideas, and Secret Sketches. Yeah. There's going to be more information in there about Walter, but long story short, he was just a guy I started drawing spontaneously in the old days when I had a day job and I worked in an office. I worked in a call center. And there was one of the supervisors there was a guy who looked a lot like Walter. He was sort of doughy, and he's balding, and he was just this kind of like very bland looking guy, and he had a mustache. And I always thought the mustache was the saddest part of it, because it's like he just struck me as the most boring man in the world. And I thought, if I stay here in this office, I'm going to become him. I don't want that. So I just started drawing him because I thought he was funny. And I also thought, well, if I draw him, then I won't become him at least. And then but it just became the sort of my go-to guy when I needed a sort of a boring businessman character in a cartoon. And I thought he was kind of funny. It was really funny that I think one of the early ones is I had him on stage with a stripper, and he's hanging on to the stripper pole as if it's the pole in the subway, and he's reading his newspaper, and the exotic dancer, stripper. What do they say now? They change it every few years. When I was going to those kind of strip clubs when I was 12 years old, they called it strippers. But now I don't know what it's called. Anyway, and she's just like, do you mind? And so I think it was one of the earliest like appearances he made in one of my cartoons. But he kept coming up, and I eventually gave him a name, and I called him Walter.
Right.
That's the story of Walter. What I do have, your listeners, of course, can see that I have a life-size Walter there. Walter, I've taken around the world with me. So he's been to the beaches of Australia and the teeming streets of Tokyo.
Wow.
Does he get his own seat on an airplane, or how does that work?
No, he fits snugly in the overhead.
He folds up.
As is appropriate for him. Well, yeah, he folds up.
It's kind of like your own flat Stanley.
Yeah, which was, let me tell you something. Let me tell you a story about Flat Stanley. Flat Stanley was my favorite book when I was a kid. When I was about 6 or 7 years old, they brought out Flat Stanley in the classroom, and the teacher read Flat Stanley to us, and I thought it was hilarious. And what I thought was especially great about Flat Stanley was that for no reason whatsoever, the family's last name is Porkchop, and it's never explained. They're not pigs or anything. It just happens to be their name. And I just loved that. That appealed to me in some way. And so we all got to borrow Flat Stanley. Flat Stanley, the book, made its way around the class, and everybody borrowed it and then brought it back. And then the next person got to borrow it and bring it back. And then the next person got to borrow it and bring it back. And then it got to be my turn, and I never brought it back. And I have it to this day. It's on my shelf, literally 3 feet away from me right now.
Oh
Confession time. Wow.
Yeah, but the kid who was supposed to get it after me, I found him on Facebook, and I'm going to send it to him. Soon, I promise.
Soon, okay.
But you have to tell him he's got to pass it along to the next person.
Yeah, he's got to find that person who knows where they are.
Oh, that's hysterical. Oh my gosh. Well, I love the Walter cartoon of him being at the doctor's office, and he's distorted, and the doctor's telling him he wants to see what he can do to fix his aspect ratio.
Oh, thanks. I like that one too.
I think that's a great one.
I like that one too.
And I'm confused because you also have one that looks like Walter, and he's crawling through the snow, a mountain, and it's the caption is "The Rare North American Snow Leonard." So is Leonard a different character?
That is for you to decide.
Or
That is part of the mystery box.
it's Walter's alter ego.
The clues are there.
Okay.
Yes. There's the canonical explanation, which could be anything. That is something that will be covered in a spin-off series someday. The real world explanation is that Snow Leonard was funny.
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe I drew that years ago. Maybe if I redrew it, I would draw the guy differently. So he'd be Leonard. Now that Walter has got a name and he's been immortalized, and there's a chapter about him in my book, I kind of have to stick to a certain amount of integrity to his character. So I can't really play fast and loose with who Walter is now. I can't change his name at will. I think when I drew the Snow Leonard, I thought I can just call him whatever I want.
Right.
Well, it's Walter's evil twin brother. That's
Yeah.
all you need to do.
It's honestly, it's a continuity error that is, it's more fun for you to notice the continuity error than for the continuity error to not be there at all. So really, I've given you a gift.
It's part of the Marvel multiverse. It's just
Really, it could be.
Leonard,
I mean, honestly,
Walters.
if you want to come up with some explanation, when the page for that on Datorpedia is about many paragraphs long. It's huge, but I don't update that. There's a whole army of fans who update that. They have their own explanations for these things.
Okay.
So also, as I noticed going through your cartoons, is you don't have too many political cartoons, especially it seems when the New Yorker was having a field day buying Trump cartoons. You don't seem to have, from my view, any Trump cartoons.
No, that was a decision I made. I said I'm not going to draw him, but I did actually break down a few times, and I did draw him a few times, and I did in fact do it, and it was never very successful. And I think it was the right decision not to draw him, because I just was never good at that kind of political humor, or that kind of political cartoon where it's a very direct sort of attack on a figure like that. I always, my most successful things that were comments on the sort of the Trump years were more indirect. They were more cartoons about how it feels to be an American living through that time. I did the one where the woman is in like a Bed Bath and Beyond, and the guy says, "Oh, well, these pillows are just for screaming into."
Yeah.
And that was a comment on that. And then I did the cartoon that, of course, everyone has seen, the Facts Don't Matter cartoon,
Yeah.
which has gone viral. It goes viral every few months. And that was a comment on that. So it was more, I realized that my strength was more in depicting the how I felt about living through that horror show, and how it felt to me, rather than this sort of external looking outward at Trump, or at his policies and things like that, and trying to draw cartoons of him. But if you look on social media, you'll find I did draw him a few times, but I was never really happy with it. I didn't like the way I drew him. I could never get it quite grotesque enough. There was never any top with Trump. There was never, you could never get the drawings of him to be ugly or grotesque enough, really. No matter how far you went, you'd think, no, it's still kind of flattering to him. He still looks kind of good, back in the Watergate days, I was thinking about that the cartoonists had such a field day with Nixon's features. Gerald Scarfe drew Nixon where his jowls were 2 bombs, and you'd still recognize it as Nixon. And I was like, oh my God, that's the way to do it. And if you look at top-notch caricaturists, what they did with Trump, like what Steve Brodner did with Trump, like he exaggerated him so much that he didn't look human anymore, and it was recognizable as him. And I could never quite get to that point. So I just realized that wasn't going to work for me.
Mhm.
The Facts Don't Matter cartoon it went viral because it's just brilliant. I mean,
Oh, thanks.
Spot on.
Well, thank you for that one as well.
You're welcome. There's one that I have several cartoons that my husband and I quote all the time. Generally speaking, it's really just me quoting it, but he laughs at it. And one of them is your squirrel cartoon with the two squirrels on the branch. And the one squirrel says, you know that thing where you stand like a statue, then move real fast, then stand like a statue again? You totally stole that from me. That's my favorite one of your cartoons. I think it's so hysterical.
Well, thanks.
And,
I've no recollection of drawing that. It was, I don't know, 10 years ago. I don't know where that came from.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. And I say that all the time. I'm like, you know, when you do this, you totally stole that from me all the time. And I get that from that cartoon. So,
But it's because whatever the thing is that you do, it's not just you. It's like every squirrel does that.
Right.
That squirrel didn't start that.
Exactly.
And the other squirrel didn't steal it.
Right. Exactly.
Billions of squirrels do it.
Yeah, that's what's so funny. I mean, it's just so perfect. I love that cartoon.
Oh, well, thanks. I'm sure that came from the 4 a.m. desperation on it, like a Tuesday morning, you know, like I think I had drawn the squirrels and thought, I don't know, I thought they were saying something else totally different. And I think I was trying to do a cartoon where a squirrel was jumping off a ledge or jumping off a cliff or a tree branch, and he had like wild, crazy eyes, and the other squirrel was like, don't do it. You're not a flying squirrel. That's just the drugs. This was something like that. And I couldn't get that to work. So I ended up doing a different squirrel cartoon, but it was just like, I'm sure it was 4 a.m. and I was just, I got to come up with something for these squirrels to say.
Well, it was great.
Oh, well,
What else are we here to talk about?
Let's jump into the caption contest.
Oh boy, we got to jump in.
Dive
All
right
right,
in.
well, you jump in, I'll follow.
What's your overall take on the caption contest? Most cartoonists we've had on seem to like it, enjoy having their cartoons in the caption contest. A rare few do not like it, and some passionately do not like it.
Have you talked to them though?
Dick Cheney, is that his first name?
Yeah, that's the vice president of the United States, Dick Cheney. He hates the caption contest.
Okay. Tom Cheney will not come on, but he's very polite about it. But he very politely told us he is not a fan of the caption contest. Sold his cartoons to the caption contest effectively under duress, and very politely. Again, he was not rude by any means, but told us he's not a fan of the caption contest. Does not think it should be in the magazine, and doesn't really want to talk about it. And there are others who do not like it as well. He was the most vocal on it. Do you share that, or do you? Like I say, most cartoonists enjoy it for a few reasons. One, they like seeing what people come up with. Two, they like the fact that their cartoons in the magazine 3 times.
Yeah, that's the main part of it for me. I like that my cartoon appears in the magazine 3 times. I like that I get paid the same for doing half the work. And I like the attention. That's about it. Other than that, I begrudgingly accept it. I have grown to begrudgingly accept it. Sometimes it's kind of fun. Honestly, sometimes it's a bit fun. Sometimes I'll do a cartoon where I don't think my caption was that great, and they'll use it for the caption contest. And at that point, I'm like, yeah, go ahead, folks, have at it. Do whatever you want with that cartoon. Who knows what you'll come up with. There's been definitely a few of my cartoons that ended up in the caption contest where I was fine with it because I didn't think I had really nailed the caption on that one anyway. But there are a few that I have never gotten over, and I am still angry about. There have been a few where it got chosen for the caption contest, even though I thought that my caption was pretty damn good. And then they came out with all the finalists and the winner, and I still thought my caption was better than any of those. And some of those get made into greeting cards, and they get reprinted in books and calendars, and they go viral. I have a friend of mine say, oh, I bought prints of 2 of your cartoons that I have hanging in my house. It was great. And he told me which ones they were, and they were both caption contests. And I was like, yeah, I didn't write that. No, I didn't write that one either. Sorry. Nope. So yeah, that can irk me a little. the consolation for that is when those caption contest cartoons do become greeting cards, or somebody buys a print or it gets reprinted in a book, I get all the royalties. Whatever Putz wrote the caption doesn't get a dime. So there's that.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask what cartoon, or more than one if you could remember, did you feel you nailed it and were unhappy that they used it for the caption contest?
Oh, let's see. There's one where a mouse is pointing a gun at a cat.
Yes.
And my caption for that one is, and the cat is talking, and the cat is sort of like nervous, and the cat, and in my caption for that one was, the cat is saying, "Whoa, I just wanted a little game of cat and mouse. I didn't say anything about it being deadly." And I like that caption better than the one that was ultimately the winner. And the winner was, I didn't like it. I'm not even going to repeat it because I don't like it at all.
Yeah, it was something with 9 lives, which is a relatively obvious caption.
Well, here's the problem with it. It was, the cat was kind of being a badass about it. And there's nothing funny about being a badass. The cat was saying, 6 rounds, 9 lives, you do the math. So the cat was being a kind of cool. And it was like, well, that's not funny. That's not funny. What's funny is the cat being kind of nervous. I mean, what's funny is people behaving like ordinary people. If people behaving like they do in action movies is not funny, at least not to me. So I wouldn't have done that one.
Well, this is the stuff we enjoy. Can you think of another one where you liked your caption?
Let's see. Well, there's a Christmas one where you see Santa is pulling the sleigh and the reindeer is in the sleigh, and the reindeer is talking to another reindeer, and Santa does not look happy. He's got the bit in his mouth, and he's like pulling this whole sled by himself. And it seems like something terrible has happened. Something has gone horribly wrong, that this turnabout has taken place. But the reindeer who's holding the reins and pulling Santa seems pretty happy about it. He's pretty pleased, and he's turning to the other reindeer, and in mine he says, "It's slow going, but this just feels right." And I like that one way better than the one that got chosen. The one that got chosen was something, I don't even remember it.
I have it up here.
Yeah.
I think who won is Now Who's Laughing All the Way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think mine is funnier.
Yeah, that sounds like an Arnold Schwarzenegger line. Now who's laughing all the way?
It's a little bit, like I said, it's a little too badass.
Yeah.
It's a little too action hero. And so, yeah.
There aren't very many Christmas themed caption contests. So I'm wondering if maybe they chose that for the caption contest because they needed a Christmas theme one and they liked the drawing.
Maybe. I don't know.
On the flip side, can you think of one where you saw the finalists and were like, oh, wow, this guy or this gal figured it out?
Oh, geez. No, but there have been, off the top of my head, no, but there have been a few where I thought, okay, that's pretty good.
Mm.
You know, yeah, I kind of wish I had thought of that, you know. I don't know. Mostly I dwell on the ones that were unsatisfying. There was one where a couple is coming into a Starbucks, or what looks like a Starbucks, and they've got their coffee and their muffins, but they can't get a seat because every seat is occupied by a rhinoceros, and the whole place is completely crowded with rhinoceroses. And the caption on that was, the man says to the woman, "Endangered my ass." And what ended up becoming that, they chose that for the caption contest, and I still think "endangered my ass" is much funnier. But what ended up being in the caption contest was something like something about coffee and donuts. And I thought, well, it's clearly a Starbucks type place. There's no donuts. It's not a donut shop. They're having muffins. They're having croissants. They're not. So this is the thing with the caption contest. You have to you have to address what's going on in the drawing. And sometimes I see people kind of fudge that a bit or cheat a bit and ignore that. And I think, well, that doesn't count because you have to acknowledge what's really in the drawing. I'll give an example. There's one, oh man, this is the one that makes me the most mad. This is the one where, okay, it's an airplane and Superman is sitting in a seat on an airplane. And he's in the middle seat or the window seat, I forget. And there's the man sitting next to him, I think it's Walter. And Superman is talking. And in my caption, Superman says to the man, yeah, well, I don't bend steel on vacation either. And the caption contest one that got chosen was Superman is saying, I've got to warn you, I don't have a bladder of steel. Oh. Now, the fundamental problem with that is it doesn't acknowledge what's really going on in that drawing. Because what's really going on in that drawing is Superman is flying commercial. And why? Why would Superman fly commercial? That's the whole point. So there I go. I was going to put a chapter in my book, Inked Cartoons, Confessions, Secret Sketches, and Rejected Ideas from the New Yorker's Joe Dator, coming out October 19th, available wherever books are sold from Turner Publishing. I was going to put a chapter in there called Caption Contest Revenge, where I actually reprint all of those with my real captions. But I didn't do that because I had written a sort of introductory paragraph where I talked about all of the people who write the captions for the caption contest, and my editor said you can't say those things about people. I think I was just saying they were a bunch of miscreants and low IQ drug addicts and things like that. And they were like, no, that's slander. You can't say that they're all drug addicts.
It's accurate for this podcast, at least.
I can tell.
Oh my gosh. I have one that I'm dying to know what your caption for it was, a contest cartoon. It was the officer speaking to a man in a kite park, and his kite is a dog flying.
Ah,
I'm
yes.
dying to know what your original caption was for that one.
What was the one that won on that? I can't remember.
Sir, I don't make the laws of gravity, I just enforce them.
Okay, yeah, see, there you go. That's one that was better than mine. I think mine was simply, sir, this is a kite park, or something like that. Or, sir, you have to take him to a dog park. It was just basically the caption was simply underlining what was going on in the drawing, which sometimes is enough. I sometimes like doing cartoons where the caption simply emphasizes what is obvious in the drawing, and in a very dry sort of a way. But I don't think that one quite worked. Sometimes that works because all you need is like a little bit of a verbal acknowledgement to sort of kick it from just an odd drawing into a joke. Years ago, I did that cartoon where there's a guy on the subway and he's got his legs spread apart and taking up the entire row of seats. And that alone wouldn't have been a cartoon. What makes it a cartoon is that there's a woman standing next to him, looking at him, and the woman says, "Oh, come on." There's nothing funny about, "Oh, come on." It just needs to be there to emphasize what's going on in the drawing. And so that's what I was trying to do with that dog park kite cartoon. I think I was just trying to write something there where the officer has to be saying something, and I just had him saying this very dry sentence of, "I'm sorry, sir, you have to take him to a dog park," or something like that. But I acknowledge that didn't work in that instance, and the laws of gravity line is pretty good for a caption contest. It's pretty good. I wouldn't have written it, but I acknowledge that it's okay. Was that one of yours? Did one of yours? Did you do that?
No, I did not.
You could have lied and just taken credit for it. Now I'm never going to know.
No, I don't even remember mine for that one. I know it was terrible. I had a very hard time with that one. I'm trying to see if I have that one handy that I did. One that I did that I liked of yours but didn't win was the one that looked like Walter sitting at a desk with a bunch of owls on his desk.
Oh boy.
And
Now I'm just gonna leave. I'm just now
Oh,
that we've mentioned that one. Okay.
why? What is that? What?
Now the good thing is now I did put that one with its original caption in my book, which
Okay.
is called Inked Cartoons Confessions, Secret Sketches and Rejected Ideas from the New Yorker's Joe Dator, available October 19th, wherever books are sold from Turner Publishing. You will see the original caption for that in my book, but I'll tell you what it is. Okay, yeah, okay. Here's the problem with that one. It's that I know the caption that won. Hire the one that says whom. I don't like that. It's I wouldn't have written that. It's kind of wordplay. It's kind of clever. Clever is never as funny to me as weird. My caption for that was the boss is saying to the employee, I want those reports on my desk by 5 p.m. and these owls off of it by 4:45. And that is, if I do say so, that's a Joe Dator joke.
Yes.
So, and that one irks me when I go into Barnes and Noble and I see it on the greeting card shelf.
Mhm.
It irks me.
Yeah.
But now it's immortalized. It's going to be in Barnes and Noble on the shelf in my book. So
There you go.
in the form it was originally intended.
Mine for that one was, I'll need a conference room and a bag of Tootsie Pops.
Oh, right, because the female employee is clearly a fan of Tootsie Pops.
No, because the owl.
The owls, you put the owls. No, I know where you're going with this. The owls go in the conference room because that's the best place in an office to keep owls, because it's an enclosed environment. It's sort of like, it reminds them of like an airy, sort of like a place where they're used to. They have big picture windows so they can see the outside. So they're not going to go bad. And what you do is you throw in some live mice and you lock the door and you just leave the owls in there. So the conference room is there. The Tootsie Pop is for the female employee so that she doesn't say anything about the owls to anyone else in the office. And so it's a little bribe. It's a bribe for her. And it kind of has a happy ending in a way.
That's
Yeah,
exactly how I got Beth's caption. That's what I was thinking when Beth said her caption right there.
No,
Yeah,
the Tootsie Pop commercial back in the day.
Oh, I know that one. Yeah.
And I just found mine for the dog in the kite park, and my caption was terrible. It was, he's so fly.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, but here's the thing. It's sort of like it's a little wordplay. Wordplay mostly does not go over that well in real cartoons, but it often wins the caption contest.
Yeah.
So you had a shot there.
Unfortunately.
You had a shot there.
Yeah, we don't like wordplay either. We try to keep away from puns. It's just
Well, there used to be a rule against puns. There used to be like, there's not going to be a pun in the New Yorker. But the caption contest has kind of opened the door for that, because I've seen the puns. The puns have come in, and now that they've come through the door, well, there's no stopping them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an invasion of puns.
Yeah. Another one that I wanted to ask you about that I really like, and I like the caption from the cartoon contest. I want to see what your thought is on it. Is the monkeys, the room full of monkeys, and the man and wife are sitting on the couch, and the winning caption was, then maybe you should just tell me what you want for your birthday instead of saying you don't care.
My caption for that was the man says, maybe we should get another monkey.
Of course. Simple. I like that.
But I had originally had a thing where I tried a lot of things and originally had some sort of caption. I had them, they were in bed and the monkeys were all around, and I think the woman said, yeah, you're right. having a dozen screaming capuchin monkeys has affected our sex life. And I think at some point I called them shrieking berserker monkeys, even though that's not really a thing. I don't know that there's any such thing as that, but I just liked the sound of it. So, and I remember Mankoff saying to me, like, what are berserker monkeys? I was like, I don't know. It sounds right. It just sounds right. And it was like, yeah, having a dozen shrieking berserker monkeys has affected our sex life. But was the reason I wanted to get that cartoon in is because the caption said a dozen, but I'd only drawn 11, and I wanted to see if anyone would notice.
Wow.
There's 11 monkeys.
Mhm. Yep, there are 11 monkeys. I just counted them.
See, if it had said a dozen, I would still be hearing from people on the internet. You said 12 monkeys in this, but there's only 11 people. Well, actually, and I kind of love that. I sort of love throwing these, like I said, it's a gift. It's a continuity error. It would have been a gift to everyone out there on the internet with nothing better to do.
Mhm.
Have you ever considered sending a cartoon for the caption contest when you cannot think of a caption and kind of sending it specifically for the caption contest?
Well, they don't do that, but they did at first. When the caption contest first started, was like, I don't know, 15 years ago. They solicited those and said, send us any cartoons you have without captions and for the contest. So my first one that I did for the contest was just an odd sort of juxtaposition that I had come up with. I didn't have a caption for it. To this day, I still don't. I still have no idea what I would have captioned that cartoon. And it was just a drawing of it was the guy crawling in the desert, and he's coming from one side of the drawing, and there's an Apollo astronaut coming from the other side of the drawing, and they meet in the middle. And in the background, you can see the Apollo lander. And I still have no idea what the caption on that would have been. I couldn't tell you. I never have figured out what's going on there, but it was fun to draw. I think somebody came up with the caption. I think the caption on that one was one of us is in the wrong movie. And I didn't like that because it's not a movie. No one's in a movie. There's no movie.
Oh, that was in the caption contest?
It's not acknowledging what's really there on the page, which is they're in a drawing. It's not a movie.
Yeah, unfortunately, I see that caption all the time in the contest where somebody says, one of us is in the wrong cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
why?
Oh yeah. Well, when they used to, I used to go up there and see sometimes the process of choosing the captions. It was very much a manual labor thing at the time. It's mostly like done by people voting on the internet. But at the time, it used to be that someone like Zach Kanan or
Wally Katz.
or Farley Katz or his successor, whose name escapes me for the moment.
Stokes.
Before Colin. Yeah, Philip Eskenazi. He would have to go through all of the captions, just go through them, like thousands and thousands of captions, categorizing them, And what would happen is, like you said, that, one of us is in the wrong cartoon. They would get variations on the exact same joke, a few thousand of those, and have to put those in a folder. And then a few thousand variations on like some other joke and put those in a folder. They literally had to go through them. And those guys were so sick and tired of captions that they were miserable. I got to see a little bit of that process, and I thought, man, I'm glad I don't have to do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, seeing so many captions and go the same thing over and over again, nothing is funny at that point. So that would be
yeah, no,
Mhm.
true. Nothing's funny at that point. And that's the point at which you're ready to be a professional humorist.
Mhm.
That's the starting point. When you're so
Nothing's funny
saturated
anymore.
in comedy, nothing's funny anymore. Then you're ready. It's like if you worked in a coal mine, you'd have to build up an immunity the coal in your lungs
Mhm.
before you could do that. That's been my experience working in a coal mine. That's
Well, this
been
was
the
great.
the
I
extent of
appreciate
it.
we've had you well over an hour here now. So wanted
Feels longer.
we appreciate you jumping on. One more plug for the book, Inked by Joe Dator.
I haven't heard of that. When is that coming out?
October.
What's that release date? One more time.
It's October 19th. Wherever books are sold, it's called Inked: Cartoons, Confessions, Rejected Ideas, and Secret Sketches from the New Yorker's Joe Dator. And in that, you will find probably every cartoon we talked about here on this show. But there's more. So you have to buy it.
It's also available on pre-order. I already ordered mine.
Well, that's very nice of you. Yes,
Yeah.
it is available for pre-order and will likely be available for post-order. There you can, and the New World Order.
I'm
Well, I
sure.
certainly-
It's more than a book, though. It's everything. It's a car. It's your best friend.
I think you're pushing it a little bit here, Joe.
No, it's a mother. It's a lover. It will be the only thing by your side as you deteriorate.
The end all and be all.
Yeah,
You become one with the book ink.
it's prepared for that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a job.
Well, I certainly plan to pick it up. And like I said, we absolutely appreciate you jumping on.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. And in closing, let me just say that I think cartoons are good.
And yours are very good. So thank you.
I meant mine. That's obviously. I didn't mean other people's.
It was assumed. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I'm gonna get out of here.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Again.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Bye.
Talk soon.